Hello, hi everybody, and welcome to another Be a Boss coaching video. My name is Beatriz. I am a clarity and strategy coach, and today I really want to talk to you about how I manage hustle culture as a Latina, as a woman of color, and hopefully this resonates for other BIPOC folks, LGBTQ folks, because in entrepreneurship and getting and deciding to go into entrepreneurship and start a business, you will realize very quickly how much hustle culture permeates the entrepreneurship space and overall culture. And for me, I've come to accept that I have even tried to give in to hustle culture, like have had thoughts that maybe hustle culture is what it takes to be successful in creating a business. And that could work for some people. But if you don't believe that and you don't believe in hustle culture and you don't agree, or perhaps your values are not in alignment with that perspective, no matter how hard you work, you will not see success. So that is one way that I manage hustle culture. And so I want to go over, I guess, like end of video. That's it. Anyway, but in all, it really comes down to three things. And I want to share that with you today. But before I do that, I want to invite you to come on over and check us out at beabosscoaching.com. There's a blog, there's a podcast, there is downloadable resources, and more information about who I am. And if you'd like to contact me and get to know me, and you come across this video and you're like, okay, I don't want to like curse on YouTube, but I can fuck around with her, then come on over. I'd love to get to know you. But let's get started. I want to go over how I manage hustle culture and why this might resonate with you. Because I am someone that likes to offer different perspectives. I am not your typical white, tall, cis, hetero man. And so when I think about leadership, I'm very aware that most people, when they think about leadership, don't automatically go to someone that looks like me. And I'll be honest with you, that's one way I manage hustle culture. I think about that and I'm like, what are my other superpowers? I can work really, really fucking hard. But if all that work will still make people question me and doubt my credibility, then I can use other strengths. And I have to remind myself that this is the world that I live in. This is the ways in which I am being perceived. And I can't control how others view me or what they think of me, but I can control how I choose to show up in the space, and I can control my own actions and beliefs and thoughts about myself in this world. If you resonate with that, please like, comment, share, subscribe. This video is for anyone who does not identify with hustle culture at all, but still wants to create an impact, who still wants to figure out the best way to create a business or a service or a product that's going to be impactful and it's going to challenge you and not compromise your values at the same time. And so that's a nuanced situation to navigate. And so I just want to go over how I do that. So let's get started. If you're new here, you will see that my channel is super small and baby, and so I hope that this finds the right people. And if you're a troll, please get out. No one wants you here. But if you're here and you're like, yeah, let's learn and let's be in community together, let's figure things out together, come, stay, like, subscribe, share, and come on over to beabosscoaching.com. All right. So if you are someone like me, right, who it's just there's something in your body that tells you that hustle culture is not for you, that you don't really care for that, but you still want to be able to one day start a business. Or maybe you've already decided to start a business, but maybe that idea of hustle culture is preventing you from actually taking the steps to doing that. Sometimes we associate entrepreneurship with hustle culture right off the bat. We think that entrepreneurship is this idea of working all day, all night, on weekends for years until something pops off. And if you don't see that for yourself, that just sounds like the worst, absolute worst nightmare for you, because you are someone that perhaps is focused on your well-being, your emotional health, your mental health, your peace. Then I want you to really stay true to that. So that's number one. Stay true to those values. Really think about your values and identify the values that are really important to you. For me, my values are emotional health, mental health, peace. I am an introvert, so I enjoy the time that I need to recharge and restore. And my family. I also value helping and assisting others, probably why I chose to go into the field of social work. But I also see huge things for myself. Like, I'd like to practice healing and figuring out what it looks like to use my voice. And quite frankly, a lot of the actions that I've taken over the past few years are in service of me trying to figure that out. And so a lot of my values is also, now that I'm thinking about it, I guess with you online, is self-discovery and self-development and really getting to know myself, feeling confident in my voice and what I know, and allowing the process to just be. And so all of those things, it may sound kind of woo-woo or whatever, but that's where I am. And those are my values. And sometimes values do evolve and change over time. I think it's always a good idea to take a look at your values, take stock of your values, and really see how those values have changed over time. And when I first started my entrepreneurship journey, like really early on, there was a lot of misalignment between what I felt entrepreneurship was and what my values were. And it was really difficult to align them and then to move forward. And that's why I believe that to manage hustle culture, you first have to be firm and confident, or at least have a relationship with yourself where you are okay with figuring out what your values are. Maybe you know a few, and maybe you're still trying to figure out what other values are also important to you, which ones are maybe not as important to you, and being okay with that process. Wherever you are in your ability and in your reflection of your values, that's where you're meant to be. I do believe that once you feel a little bit clearer about that, it makes it easier to then see if entrepreneurship and what your notions are and beliefs are about entrepreneurship are in alignment with that. And if they're not, then how can we redefine entrepreneurship so that we can continue moving forward in the dream of starting our own business? And so that's why I believe values work is really important. Sitting with yourself, reflecting on what that looks like, and then seeing how that either aligns or misaligns with what you believe entrepreneurship. Hope that makes sense. Okay. Number 2. So a question that I've been having a lot around my authenticity and like what that means for me is a much deeper question around who I am. And it's because authenticity is such a hot word in entrepreneurship space, and I think a lot more now as we think about how brands and corporations and big companies sell themselves, right? Like, authenticity is one of the ways in which they really sell themselves because they feel relatable to the consumer. And so hence why authenticity is such a big word for smaller people and smaller entrepreneurs and smaller brands, because we want to get on that same playing field. We also want to come off as relatable and authentic. But I think the funny thing about thinking about authenticity is that if we think about it too much, I think we lose the authenticity. And so when I think about that, I think about the fact that there's a lot, like, we're all really complex human beings. Every single person on this earth has their own unique trajectory and experiences, and what molds their authenticity and what that means for them. For me, in the beginning of my journey, I had such a hard time figuring out, well, what is even authenticity for me? Like, you understand what it means in theory, but to be able to understand it in terms of what it means to you objectively, it's hard to really then step into a version of yourself that just like can just easily flow and come out and really talk and use your voice and really bring out your personality. And when we look at other businesses and creators and personal brands, we're like, that's how we should be, or that's what works. So then we try to mimic that. But in reality, we're stepping away from what really makes us authentic. And so authenticity for me connects to my values. And even if you're not sure what authenticity means to you, if you can connect back to your values and speak from a place that you feel comfortable speaking from, and you feel good in sharing, and perhaps even have done some work around being vulnerable, then that's when authenticity begins to take shape and form for you. And so it comes back to the values work, which I think connects to your authenticity. If that authenticity is not connected to the values, then you're probably going to get back into this belief that you have to hustle and you have to look like these other people in order to be successful in your personal branding story. We could take templates and examples of other successful personal brands, but at the end of the day, it really, I think, is up to your own connection to who you are and what makes you special. And I think it's a fine line, because when people say you be you, you're the only one who can say the same message differently. It's hard to figure out what that even looks like for us until you do it, and until you do the work, until you do the reflective work of really understanding yourself from a very introspective place. And do that work, and I do that with you. So I'm happy to do that with you in your journey as an entrepreneur. And then the third thing that I think about, and that I think has helped me to move away from this idea that hustling is what's going to make me successful, is understanding strategy. And why I enjoy saying I'm a clarity and strategy coach, and why that feels more accurate, is because I enjoy thinking about the fact that when we think strategically, it means that we are executing based on an outcome that we'd like to see, but knowing that we're not married to that outcome, because even if that outcome did not come to fruition, that we can always go back and readjust the strategy and continue to move forward. When we're too married to an outcome, and that outcome is not the one that we experience, that's when our egos get hurt, our emotions get into play. And really what we should be more worried about, or more make sure that we're more cognizant of, is that we're sticking to our values instead of being hurt by a failure or a setback or an unexpected outcome. And the truth is that thinking strategically reminds us that we cannot control the outcome. What we can control is the execution and the goal that we want to achieve, but the outcome is not up to us. and it's not tied to our worth and our confidence and our self-esteem. But what we are tied to is our values. And when we can stay true to our values and we can continue to live a life where we continue to take care of ourselves, if that's a value that we have, or recharge or spend time with family, if we still did that in the process of executing toward our dreams, I think that's the balance that we can strike. And that's what I'd like you to achieve as well, is be able to understand yourself from a values perspective and to figure out what your authenticity feels like to you, what it looks like to you, and still have the courage to execute on a strategy and not be tied to an outcome. Because if we were to put some heart and soul and work into a project and then no one bites or no one engages, well, we can remember that we still stuck to our values. And so knowing that you don't control the outcome and remembering that is a way that we can continue to move forward, do our work without having to fall victim to hustle culture or mentality when we never wanted to go into that space in the first place. So that's how I manage hustle culture. That's how I manage my work as a coach, as a clarity coach, as a strategy coach, and what I'd like to help you also in your journey as a business owner, and a business owner that wants to create impact and stay true to their values, and perhaps is someone that really doesn't care too much for hustle culture. If you agree, then let's connect. I'd love to be that support for you. So again, come on over to beabosscoaching.com, and we'll see you in the next video. And before I close, come on over to my new workshop that I have going on, happening February 12th. It's called a Take Action with Intention workshop, where we will go over the strategy framework that is really helpful to understand and where you can then be able to apply to other areas of your business and execute, take action without compromising your values. All right, have a wonderful rest of your day. I'll see you all soon. Bye.